Hi, I'm Ariele Mortkowitz. I am the director of SVIVAH, which is about creating a more nourishing communal faith experience for Jewish women, where we define both Jewish and women very broadly. If you want to be with us, we want you to be with us and welcome. And I am so excited to be getting to spend this evening with none other than Rabbanit Aliza Sperling, who is the director of our HerTorah program, which I'd really love if you would talk to us a little bit about.
Hi, Ariella. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here. I am the director of HerTorah. HerTorah is a project of SVIVAH where we bring Jewish women of all backgrounds together so that we can learn with each other and from each other, and we can overcome some of the barriers that sometimes get in the way of our really connecting with one another.
Can I embarrass you for a little bit of a second? Um, Given that it's New Year themed, I'm just going to come right out and say thank you because HerTorah this year has been one of my really immense sources of nourishment, coming together with the incredible group of women that you gather every single time, the phenomenal educators that we've had throughout the course of the year. And each topic has been so relevant and timely and really sustained me. So I get to say thank you on this, full circle of this Shana, this year that we've been through. Thank you for creating this beautiful program where it's been so amazing to see women come together and find one another, even through these little Zoom boxes.
Thank you for creating it with me, Ariella. And it's been kind of crazy going from being in person to being totally on Zoom. And I guess that's one of the things to think about this year, the way our lives have changed and everything's changed, and we've still tried to go on and do the best we can.
It's been an absolute gift to be able to actually see classrooms the way you do from the front of the room, to be able to actually see everybody's faces as they learn together and learn from one another. That's actually been a real gift to see, to actually, see each other's faces and smiles as they absorb information or have that moment of aha, or have a question. It's been really a nice way to get to know one another in a very different sort of way. I want to actually, before we even go further and explain what on earth we are doing here, I want to make sure that we take a second to thank everybody who makes HerTorah possible. So obviously, Aliza, to you for all of your thoughtfulness that you bring and your creativity to every time that we gather together. This HerTorah iteration is going to be new and different, which I'm really excited to play around with you. But I also want to make sure that we thank Yeshivat Maharat for your partnership in bringing HerTorah to life. And making sure that we set the bar really high for excellence in Torah scholarship and elevating and valuing women's voices. And an enormous thanks to the Aviv and Covenant Foundations for their faith in HerTorah to create a unique way of learning together in community. This HerTorah version that we're doing for Elul for this month before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, before the high holidays, is a departure from our gathering in person, but it fits actually really beautifully in line with what HerTorah is about, which is lifting women's voices up, valuing women's insights and perspectives on both Torah and our lived experience, and seeing them come together beautifully in combination in community with one another. And so we have gathered together a phenomenal and incredibly generous group of women scholars and thinkers and just brilliant folk who are going to share their thoughts walking into these high holidays this year. And I'm really excited that we get to, start with one of my favorite teachers, and Aliza. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight and doing this here. But the rest of the list is pretty gosh darn impressive and so amazingly different and unique, and all of them are phenomenal in their own right. So I'm hoping that tonight is just the first of many times that we get to hang out with each other and hear from different amazing voices. I love the idea that we're going to be able to kind of offer a smorgasbord of pastoral spirits. I know that, everybody kind of has a different flavor depending on the day, depending on the year, depending on who you connect with. And each one of the women who is coming to teach for us is different and offers something special and unique in her own right. I'm really excited to try this out.
Yeah, and here's what we're going to do. We will offer these Zoom interviews of different educators and thinkers and leaders. They'll be about 15 minutes long. You can sit at your computer and watch them. You can take a walk and listen to them. It'll be a way, hopefully, to accompany you throughout the month of Elul as we get ready for Rosh Hashanah.
And I love that we're going to introduce you to all of these new flavors of folk who hopefully you'll be able to actually learn with in going into this new year, because each one of them you can find and will help you find them and take advantage of their teaching, their learning, their insights, whatever it may be. We're going to make sure that you can find them after this. So on that note, I get to ask you, Aliza, tell me what's been on your mind. Tell me what is some Torah that you're taking with you into these high holidays this year as the world continues to evolve in its craziness. What have you got for us?
Well, I guess I've been thinking about this really strange thing that happened to me a few years ago. Um, we were living in Israel. We were on sabbatical in Israel, and it was Friday night, and it was kind of a freak accident. And my husband Josh broke three of his fingers in this like really crazy accident. And the ambulance came, and they brought him and me to the hospital, which was not that far away. And we spent Friday night in the hospital. Thank God everything's fine. His fingers are back.
Why did I not know about any of this?
Yeah, it was crazy. And they very nicely allowed me to sleep over in his room, and they got me a little hospital bed. And so I slept for about 2 hours that night. And then I realized that I really need to go back to my kids who, are in the next town over. Now, I'm a walker. I enjoy walking, but I was going on 2 hours of sleep and I had never been to this hospital before. And so I asked directions for how to get back, and they gave them to me, and I thought I processed them. And I got out of the hospital and I started walking back toward our apartment. And I got to that little bridge where they said I should get to. And I tried to remember what they said I should do when I got to the bridge. And I thought they told me to make a left. And so I make a left. And after about 10 minutes, I realize I have no idea where I am. Like, I'm looking around. It's beautiful. I'm in kind of like this brain fog where I'm just kind of walking and taking it as it goes. And I think to myself, I don't really recognize where I am right now, but let me just walk another 10 minutes and see, like, I bet if I just keep going, then eventually I'll get home. And so I keep going, and then I'm in a highway, so I have to like crawl under a fence, but I figure I'll just keep going and eventually I'll get home. At a certain point, this is probably an hour into my wrong turn, I stop and I say to myself, if you keep going this way, you are never going to get home. Sometimes the best thing to do is just turn around, even if you feel like, how could I turn around? I've just invested so much time walking this way. You'll never get home if you just keep walking in the wrong way. And so I turned around, I walked back to the bridge, I took the other turn, and eventually I got home, crawled into my bed, and fell asleep. And it's funny because in that state that I was in, where I was really walking on fumes there, when I got to the point where I was thinking, oh, you'll never get home if you just keep walking that way, all of a sudden I was like, whoa, that's deep.
And I love that you were having brain space to try to think like, right, the nurse must have said to crawl under a fence. That makes sense. But also to have this moment of profound insight through all of this.
Okay. It was so funny. It was just like I realized, oh yeah, that's what Teshuvah is all about. Like when they say return, sometimes you're walking and you just the momentum of just because I've always gone this way, I'll just keep going and I'll get to where I need to go. Sorry, this is making it real that it's bedtime at home. and then it's 9:40. And I realize that sometimes you really need to turn around, like you need to stop. You need to figure out where you are, where you want to go. And sometimes you have to do that hard work of turning around and not just let the momentum take you where you're going. And ever since then, I've really kept that story in my head around Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur time. Like, don't just keep walking. Sometimes maybe Rosh Hashanah is a time to stop and say, am I really where I want to be? If I keep going this way, it's going to get me where I want to go.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We work really hard a whole year through on whatever it is. And the idea of stopping and turning around can be really daunting, especially for so many of us who are so hard on ourselves to achieve or be driven or just produce whatever it is. The idea of turning around is really hard.
Yeah. And sometimes we're so invested in all the little victories of, oh, well, I walked a little bit more. I did all these small things, right? And that makes up a successful day. And then Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur is a time to say, but where do I really want to be? Like, are all those little small victories leading me to a place where eventually I want to end up?
Wow. That's an amazing analogy. In your brain fog.
In my brain fog, it felt very real. I'm surprised I remembered it after when I woke up the next morning. And so every Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur since then, I've thought about that, and I thought about, well, how do you get there, right? Because it's not easy for me. I'll speak personally to figure out, big directions. It's much easier to figure out, okay, so tomorrow I have to go to the store, I have to take my daughter to a doctor's appointment, that kind of thing. And it's much harder to really redirect and think about where I want to go. There's this beautiful Midrash that I wanted to share that for me has some bearing on that. And it's really freed me, I think. And I'm really using that term of freedom. It's freed me to start thinking about what it is that I want to craft out of my life when I think about it on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So I am going to use the Zoom and share my screen for a minute. Here we go. Okay. This is a Midrash on Psalms, on Tehillim, and it's based on a song that the prophetess Hannah said after she gave birth to her son. And one of the things that she says in the song is, there is no rock like our God, Ein Tzor Ke'Eloheinu. And the Gemara and then the Midrash as well have a really fun time playing on the word tzor, which means rock. And instead of saying there is no rock like our God, they say, do not read the word tzor, rock. Rather, there is no artist. There is no sayar. The Hebrew word sayar is artist for God. In other words, there's no artist like our God. So, in other words, they're taking this idea of there's no rock, like stable, and you can rely on it and it never changes, right? And they're totally changing what we mean when we say that and saying, there's no artist like God.
I love that.
Yeah, and then they go through all these ways in which God is an artist. So I'll read you just a few of them. The human artist cannot create in the darkness, but the Holy One, blessed be He, can create in the dark. The human artist cannot create form in the water, but the Holy One, blessed be He, can create form in water. The human artist can only create with many colored paints, but the Holy One, blessed be He, can create the fetus with a drop of white and a drop of red. The human artist can only create with actions, but the Holy One, blessed be He, can create art with speech. The human artist cannot create the artwork all at once, but instead bit by bit. But the Holy One, blessed be He, creates the whole thing all at once. And the Midrash goes on, like they have a field day with the ways in which God is like an artist. And I just love this analogy of saying that God is an artist, because if we are created in the image of God, it means that we get to be artists as well. And that's kind of the way that I think about what we are doing on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right? Like we're standing there and we're saying, these are all the raw materials that I got this year. These are all the things that happened to me that like I probably can't do very much about. Like COVID came, there wasn't really anything I could do about that. All these things happened to me. But on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I get to be the artist, right? I get to say, these are my raw materials, right? And sometimes I have to create in darkness because I can't really see the whole picture, right? I have to create in water where things seem fluid, right? Because I don't have everything in front of me. But I have this amazing opportunity to be an artist, to say, okay, God, all this happened to me. I can't do anything about that. But now I get to start making something beautiful out of it, right? And I really think about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as the opportunity to have a lot of time standing there in synagogue, right, of saying, let me really think about what happened this year. And then let me think, how can I make a work of beauty from that? How can I do that?
That's really such a powerful reframe. And I'm really glad, like I'm sitting and absorbing this. We didn't practice beforehand.
We sure did. Everybody out there can tell.
I love the idea of giving ourselves permission to kind of lay those raw materials down for a minute and take a pause and approach them with that. I don't know if it is self-compassion. I don't know what I would call it, but the idea of being able to kind of lay it down and start fresh, just like an artist would approach a blank canvas and say, like, okay, this is the palette that I've got. Now what? That idea of that blank canvas really is such a beautiful new opportunity to imagine, to envision, and to really take those days, the high holidays, as the opportunity to think about what you want to paint, what you want to create.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, often we'll stand there and we'll just kind of feel so guilty or ashamed of the things that we've done, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help us. It doesn't help the people around us. But if we give ourselves the freedom to say, this day is not about beating myself up. This day is about giving myself the freedom to recreate, right? To think like an artist. Then all of a sudden you have something to work with, right? You have something beautiful that you can create.
Yeah.
And it's nice because then you're, hopefully we'll be in synagogue maybe this year, hopefully. And it's nice to think that I'm standing next to somebody who might be doing the same thing. And everybody there, like, what if we were all artists together? And I have to say, I'm not a great artist at all. Like, I don't really know what to do with it. I enjoy it, but that's not where my talents lie. But what if we really all thought of ourselves as artists coming together on this day to give each other that encouragement, like, yeah, I believe in you. I know you can create something beautiful. And I know we can create something beautiful together as well.
I love that. I think the idea of creating something beautiful, the word beautiful is a hard one. And I think in my past life of being an art student, the pressure to create something beautiful is unfounded. But like you were saying, the idea of painting in the dark or painting underwater, beauty is subjective, but creativity is something that all of us have. And I think the permission to own that personal creativity, to say, these are my tools, this is my palette, and I am going to bring myself, I'll give it my best, and I will create something. And I will hope that it will be in whatever direction, or that it will be something beautiful in whatever beauty, the eye of the beholder, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the positive, forward thinking and personal agency that idea gives us. I think it gives us all a minute to be able to say, I have something to offer, and I can bring my best self, and it can look different and be a different canvas than this past year was. And the things that were not in my control, I still can use.
Yeah.
I love that. I really do.
Thanks, Ariele.
Thank you. I feel like now I'm going to be sitting there in synagogue, instead of paying attention to the words that I'm saying. I'm just going to be like doodling with my finger. I love that. That's really beautiful. Thank you, Aliza.
You're welcome. And I'm so excited to hear from our other interviewees over the course of the month of Elul, to see what kind of art they will bring to us, what pieces of beauty they will bring to us, and what they think about Rosh Hashanah, the thoughts they're bringing with them, what they think about the process of repentance. So excited to learn from them.
Me too. I think it's going to be so great. I think each one of them has something unique to offer, and the questions you've offered them have been really thought-provoking. So I'm hoping that everyone will take a minute and go to our website, SVIVAH.org, and plunk in your email address so that we can make sure to send you the videos coming up from all of these amazing different scholars who are headed your way. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram too, and just take advantage of these incredible voices. We're so lucky to have such a richness and wealth of diverse, powerful, thoughtful, amazing women scholars and thinkers. And I think I know that I get the luckiest job in the world to get to hang out with them and hang out with Aliza, and thinking through how we might frame this month going into these high holidays together. So we hope we'll get to hang out with you in other subsequent evenings this month. Chodesh Tov. And if we don't see you back, we'll wish you a Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year, everybody. Bye-bye.